Jongleurs is completely separate from the normal circuit, but and so you get names who do that regularly, but you don't see them anywhere else, and they make a load of money, and it's a really regular income for them, isn't it?
Mike Gunn was one who's...
You need to move it to you now.
People like Mike Gunn was always on the Jungler circuit, but then just never appeared anywhere else for ages. But then
he was a heroin addict, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But then he did do Edinburgh.
Yeah, Donna McPhail was another one that we saw all the time, and I have no idea what she's doing anymore. But she was like
me neither.
No, me neither.
Hello, my name's Simon Caine, and welcome to the RC Industry Podcast, episode 33. For those of you new to the show, this is the podcast where I interview the most influential people from the worlds of stand-up, comedy, radio, TV, and today, fringe festivals. Zena Barrie and Michelle Flower run the Camden Fringe, which takes place in London in August every single year. They started it in 2006, and as we're speaking, they are preparing for their 10th year. I got them on to talk about the festival, why it was started, what the gentrification of Camden has had impact-wise on the festival itself, how running a comedy festival at the same time as Edinburgh can be problematic or advantageous. We got into some really interesting discussions, and they shared quite a lot of stories about their experiences at different fringe festivals, and I had a lot of fun talking to them. I really think you're going to get a lot out of this. It's ideal for anyone who wants to take part in the Camden Fringe and wants to know a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes. If you are enjoying the show, please do remember to subscribe. You can do that via iTunes or Stitcher. Also, if you have the time, please do take 1 minute and leave me an honest review on iTunes. We're up to 35 reviews now. Really love to keep that going. So if you could leave it a quick little, 2-3 sentences, what you thought of it, and a star rating, that'd be amazing. If not, just a star rating would be great. Really helps out the show. Future guests are reading them, and it just makes us look better and helps with the ranking on iTunes, or so I've been led to believe. So hopefully that will work out quite well. If you would like to follow along, the show notes are at Simon Caine, that's simoncaine.co.uk/RC Industry Podcast. That's got a list of all the questions that we discussed, as well as timestamps and links to anything that was mentioned. So without any more delays, this is Zena Barrie and Michelle Flower. That would be a really specific...
What was it? They were discussing something really gruesome the other day.
Who's they?
About periods, Women's Hour, and lots of men wrote in saying, is this a suitable topic for morning discussion? Oh, I can't remember what it was, but
fuck off.
Something to do with periods and things.
Stupid
anyway.
fucking...
I know.
Are we allowed to swear, by the way?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
It's not going to be on children's BBC, is it?
Do you want to just get a swear word out now before we start? Or?
Cunt.
I might make that the opening, like that'll be the just start with that word and let's go from there. But yeah, like I said, so this is your 10th year doing the Camden Fringe. First of all, on your website you say that it was started as a alternative to the Edinburgh Fringe for people in London. Is that right still?
Yeah, that's right. We ran the Etc. Theatre in Camden, and we used to take shows up to Edinburgh every year, and the Etc. Theatre would be still running but kind of quiet, with 1 or 2 shows happening at any one time. And Edinburgh was getting expensive and stressful, and we thought, let's see what happens if we say there's going to be a fringe on in Camden. And before we knew it, we had 22 shows signed up for the first ever Camden Fringe.
So in the first Camden Fringe, Roisin Connaughty did her first hour-long show, which obviously we don't tell Edinburgh about that because they gave her the best newcomer, 6 years later for doing her first hour. Joey Page was on, and anyone else that we think is now slightly famous?
Thingy Bob, Caitlin Moran's sister.
Yes, Caitlin Moran's sister, who co-wrote Raised by Wolves with her.
Oh, yeah,
they did a show with her, another sister.
Yeah.
The Moran sisters did a show called The Guys. So yeah, it was, but it was really low key the first year. And we went to Edinburgh still and just sort of left it happening in London. And we had a horrible time in Edinburgh and decided that actually we probably wouldn't come back again. And next year we'd try and do the Camden Fringe properly and see what happened. And thus it began.
How are you, because as an alternative to Edinburgh at the same time as Edinburgh, do you find that has an impact on the kind of audience you get, or the kind of the number of audience you might get?
I don't think it doesn't have any impact on the audience, because London is still London after all, and it's the summer and it's full of people and tourists, and even though when you're in Edinburgh during the festival you feel like it's the centre of the world, but then you come back and realise that nobody else knew what was happening or has any idea what was happening up there. So I don't think it impacts on audience at all.
No, I think there are two areas that it has an impact on. The first is the performers that want to come and do it, because lots of people are very focused on Edinburgh. We do have people who come and perform with us and then go up to Edinburgh, and then we have a few people who go to Edinburgh and then can perform with us. But that we tend to get newer people, and also comics who have recently got married or had babies, and they don't want the commitment of going to Edinburgh for a full month, so they stay and do Camden because they still have that kind of yearly yearning to do a show. And the other impact it has is probably on the press as well, because even though we're in London and Edinburgh is in Scotland, London-based publications still are quite focused on Edinburgh as a thing. So Time Out London tends to do a lot of Edinburgh reviews, which, let's face it, is 400 miles away. But we have lots of really there's lots of great websites that cover just London stuff who come and review things. So you do still get press out of it, and press coverage, and Camden New Journal are great. But yeah, those are the two. I think the press and the performers are the things that have an impact. Edinburgh has an impact on audiences. No, because London is very busy generally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not short of people.
There's quite a few people, yeah. No, I know what you mean about the bubble element. Whenever you go up to Edinburgh, you sort of feel a bit like anything could happen outside of Edinburgh, and you wouldn't know about it until the end of the Fringe. The thing is, London publications going to Edinburgh to review, is that just? Do you think that's just them trying to get ahead of themselves for when those acts bring the show down to London for like a Soho run or something? Or do you think that's not necessarily the best move for? Would you prefer to be covered, as it were?
There might be a little bit of that. I think mostly they like to go up there and watch shows, really. But also, there isn't that many of them left anymore. Actual print journalists who are proper writers who go up there to write actual proper reviews that are nicely written. There's not very many of them left, so most things now you read online, and there's lots and lots of websites where lots of young people write reviews and they've got to learn somewhere. So there's a lot more of that, and there's not that much print journalism anymore.
No, there was, when we first started the Camden Fringe, there was this golden age of free newspapers in London. There was like the London Light, and there was another one as well. There were two free news. London, was that? No, was it called?
Oh no, that's the Big Wheel.
Yeah, it was. But there was two kind of new newspapers, a bit like the Metro, but they were entirely based in London, and that was brilliant because they put our pictures in every week, and it was like, every day. It was brilliant. This is great. But they both kind of were free newspapers, and obviously the economic model did not work so well. But yeah, with I think the London journalists, most things that have gone to Edinburgh and are good do either start in London with previews or come back to London, or both. So, I don't think Edinburgh has this kind of has this sort of once in a lifetime opportunity to see things that it used to have, because all the good stuff does end up in London anyway. So yeah, you're not missing out if you don't go to Edinburgh, is what I think. Everybody, you're not missing out.
I was going to ask, because you mentioned free and you said that model didn't work, and I know you guys don't do free shows at none of the shows are free.
Nope.
Do you think that's because the free Fringe model can't work in London, or is there just another reason for that?
I think the free Fringe model that could work in London, one of the problems we have with it, I think, is that if you haven't paid for a show, there's a very good chance that you'll go and sit in it, and after 5 minutes, if you're slightly bored and think it's a bit rubbish, you're going to just get up, walk out, go to the bar, or go and find something else to do. And whereas if you've paid £5 or more, even if you hate it, you will stay there to get your money's worth, which is ridiculous, but I sort of think that's how audience works. So if it's a great show on the Free Fringe, that's brilliant. But if it's something a bit ropey and it's free, you're going to end up, I think, having a bit of a horrible time with people coming in and out of your show and disturbing it.
We have Camden Fringe isn't just comedy, it's theatre as well, and actually some theatre has quite elaborate sets, quite big casts, and actually the production costs are quite high, so they need to charge for tickets, and they need to charge at least £10 for tickets. So our ticketing model is that we won't let people charge less than £5. £5 is the minimum, £15 is the maximum, and it's just to give not exactly a level playing field, because obviously there's a £10 gradation in that, but to give, so they're sort of working on the same premise. So the audience aren't going to go, oh, this one's free, I'll go and see that, and then ignore something brilliant that's £10.
One of the things that was annoying when we used to take shows up to Edinburgh was that we'd be trying to sell tickets, and then if it was sort of early in the week, it was Monday or Tuesday afternoon, and somebody else would be papering their show, and so if you've got a few people walk in looking to buy tickets, they're just going to take the free ticket and go to see that just because they can, and that was kind of annoying. And then so one person would start giving their tickets away for free, so then everybody else started to feel like they had to give their tickets away for free, and before you know it, you think, oh well, I'm going to have to paper the show as well, otherwise nobody will come, because everybody started giving their tickets away for free. So it sort of made sense for us to just say, that's not happening, full stop, you cannot do it, and that won't happen.
Most of our venues are proper theatres with proper staff, proper equipment. They're not free to run. They have people running the box offices, they have people administrating, they have people marketing, and they have people turning lights on and off, and electricity is expensive. So, to give, I think it works if you've got a small room of a pub with some chairs in it, you can get away with not charging for tickets. But if you've actually got a proper space, then you need to make some money somehow, and charging for tickets is one of the things you do.
Do you think it also eliminates certain shows from coming? So it means that what kind of shows do you try and attract? Because up in Edinburgh you can do like a four-hander with four different comedians, and obviously we're just talking about comedy here, but I presume it kind of only attracts really then hour-long shows or people doing work-in-progress stuff for something like Edinburgh.
I think we still attract pretty much everything and anything, really. We still get shows where there's 4 or 5 comedians sharing an hour, but we like them to come to us saying, hello, there's 5 of us, we want to share an hour, because that's easier for us. Yeah,
we do still sometimes get people saying, I've got 20 minutes, can I come and do a show? And you have to say, no, you need to find 3 other people to share it with, because that's not going to work, and we don't have the time to kind of put the bills together, and you don't know who's going to fit stylistically, and then who's going to go first, who's going to go second. So they need to kind of come to us with an hour, really, but there's no reason that they can't all get together and sort things out. Hey, I'm going to say 3 Men and a Giant to you now, Zena.
Yes.
3 Men and
a... Three Men and a Giant came to us in... Oh no, they came to the Sea venues in 2000 and... Was it 2000? 2001?
Maybe 2.
Possibly 2002. Anyway, it was Greg Davis, Rod Gilbert, Ed Petrie from CBBC, and Steve Hall from We Are Clang. and being brilliant, Steve Hall going to Blur gigs with you. But yeah, so they were 4 that came to us and wanted a 50-seat venue, so they played, it was called CO2, so it's underneath a tiny coffee shop in Edinburgh, and they did quite well, and Ed Petrie flyered for us as well to make some extra pennies. And it's called 3 Men and a Giant because Greg Davis is a giant.
He's doing quite well.
He's doing quite well. Rod Gilbert's doing quite well.
And they started off doing a mixed bill night of, with sharing their 20 minutes. So, hey.
We made them, didn't we? And actually they ended up coming to the Etc. They came to the Etc. and did a sketch group called We Are Clang. Yeah. But before they did We Are Clang, they hadn't got a name for themselves. So the first time they did that, we billed them in the papers as Wild Boys with a Z. and they all cut the sleeves off their t-shirts, didn't they?
They decided they should market themselves to the gay market, and because there wasn't really a gay sketch group out there. But
Right.
yeah, that didn't work long term,
No.
or indeed short term.
We enjoyed it.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
I remember seeing them on Edinburgh and Beyond, the TV show where they came on in tank tops and
Yeah,
did a...
no, they did keep the tank tops
Yeah.
actually, didn't they? Yeah, that's true. That was our idea. Was it our idea?
No, they did that to amuse us
Okay.
because we call them wild boys.
That's amazing. You've got an amazing thing on your website, which I think more fringes should have, which is like that 7-point like guide to getting sorting your show out for the year. And in it, you say it's basically your... Oh, go on. Sorry, you were going to say...
No, she's just pointed the microphone at me because I wrote the 7-point
okay.
guide.
I
So
think it's really
I'm going
good.
to be answering this question, I'm guessing.
Well, possibly. It was not directly about the guide. It's... Oh, go on. Are you... I should say for people at home, they keep about to saying something and stopping.
We're sharing a microphone, so it's quite tricky.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have budget for free mics right now. But in it you say it's basically our job as performers to market the show. And I think one of the biggest problems most performers have is marketing, because we're not marketeers, we're performers. What advice would you give to someone who wanted to do the Camden Fringe, who has no idea, maybe isn't even from London but wants to do it and has no idea how to market a show?
It is something that we do. If you're in, once you're part of the Camden Fringe, then we do provide you with marketing guides. So the essential points, I suppose, are be proud of your show and let people know about it. We tweet about all of our shows because we know that some people like to hide their light under a bushel, and they're a bit embarrassed about tweeting the fact that they're doing a show. So we think if we tweet about their show, they'll at least be able to retweet that, get it out there. But actually don't just wait for us to tweet about it. Tweet about it yourself. Make sure people know. We give a sort of template for people to fill in a press release and send that off to people. But I think a lot of it comes down to having a good image for your show, getting something, and it's really easy to do these days. It's not expensive. Even a camera phone now is astonishingly good quality. So to get a really good, clear image, it's well lit with a nice clear background. I'm thinking I could take a picture of you now and it'd be beautiful, Simon, because we're against a black background. He's got a shirt on that's black with white spots. It would against the black background, it's going to look great. I might do that later for you.
That'll be fun. Be the image for this podcast.
The image for this podcast.
Yeah.
It'd be brilliant.
Be me for some reason.
Yeah. But to have a good, strong image, not just something that's kind of... Lots of people send us pictures for the brochure that are a picture of... This doesn't happen with comics so much. Comics, I have to say, are the best at giving us good headshots and things like that. We're
quite
get it.
vain, though. We quite like photos.
Well, that works to your benefit in this instance. But lots of people, they go, we're doing a show and it's about, the just the general...
It's about rape and here's a picture of a chair.
Yeah, well, that happened, so I wasn't going to do that one. But yeah, lots of pictures of chairs, empty beds, just inanimate objects. And you think that doesn't... The human eye is always drawn to faces. That's why we see faces and images in clouds and things. We like to see faces. So if you're going to put an image out there, make it one of a face, ideally your face. But I feel like we're preaching to the converted with comics here. So yes, and then having good blurb and making it obvious what your show is, because some people like to write a short sentence and then ... after it as if they're very mysterious, but you think, no, you want to say, I'm going to do jokes about this, I'm interested in this, I'm a bit of a nerd, or I am ravishing and have lovely hair. Just something, something that is about you, so people have something to go on. But it is a lot of the time just being relentlessly self-promoting and making sure your friends and family and your yoga teacher all come to see the show. I think marketing it's embarrassing and awful, but you do have to do it. It's like when you do a sponsored bike ride or something and you have to keep saying, please sponsor me, everybody, please sponsor me, I'm doing this, I'm doing a bike ride, please sponsor me, and you have to kind of do that, but it's about your show. So hopefully they will enjoy it, they'll get something out of it. But yeah, you need to get your friends to come and bring all their friends and then get them to tell your friends, their friends. But yeah, it's so... Sorry, Zena, I'm
going to say, I suppose, comedy-wise, if you've got the confidence to actually get on stage and do the comedy in the first place, then you've probably got the confidence to do a little bit of marketing and not be too scared to sell your show. And It's a tricky one though, isn't it? We're quite thingy bob.
Yeah, she said we're quite thingy bob, and then pointed the microphone at me as if I have the answer, but I don't.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I don't know.
Self-deprecating.
So we're quite self-deprecating, apparently.
But yeah, selling yourself is a difficult and tricky thing. But if you're
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think in terms of people who are good at the self-promotion, it is the comics, because we have a mixture of comedy and theatre, and you do find that the comics are much better at tweeting about their shows and having good pictures and writing a decent blurb than some people. But then you get some that are really lazy and just assume people are going to come to their show, and then they don't because no one knows it's on. And, you know, there's only so much we can do.
But outside of getting, you know, friends, family, yoga teachers down to see them, London obviously it has a lot of papers and it has a lot of like places you can get. I mean, we had some people on from the Londonist a while ago. We've had Time Out on, and we've got a few.
We love the Londonist.
They're amazing, right?
Yes.
I love them. We've got them coming on, and we've got a few other like publications that are coming on at some point. But I mean, are there any that you specifically work with, or that you would recommend trying to get in with, that would try like covering the Camden Fringe, for example? Like you said, Time Out pretty much go to Edinburgh and do that. So I mean, I assume there are ones that you work with or try and work with to try and keep the coverage here, as it were?
Well, I think Londonist is a really good example. Who they are so London centric, and they wouldn't go to Edinburgh, and they've been really supportive of us from the start. So they're definitely one to get in, because they do lots of mail outs and then weekly roundups of things that are on. So they're a great one to be kind of proactive about. And then we have kind of lots of reviewy sites, but they don't necessarily see comedy above theatre. There's lots that see both. So there's one called Views from the Gods, but they see a mixture of both, but they are more theatre, I think, than comedy. Their reviews of theatre are better than the ones of comedy, because I think they understand it more.
There's Fringe Review, but that's probably more.
Fringe Review is definitely only theatre. Yeah.
Camden New Journal and the Ham and High, very supportive, always do nice features for us, although not loads of reviews, but they do nice articles about generally what's happening. You just have to hammer away at it, don't you, and see what's new, because there's always a new website, and there's always one that's disappeared, and then there's always something new.
Do you know the comedian James Mullinger?
I do, yeah.
So he never did Edinburgh.
He's the GQ guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
He used to, yeah.
And he lives in Canada now, and he's now having a film made of his life.
Amazing.
And and he sort of did Camden very early on, didn't he? He did, I think, 3 or 4 years of doing the Camden Fringe, and he never went to Edinburgh because he was getting married and having babies, as mentioned before. But he always did Camden and was incredibly supportive, but he was just the best person at self-promotion. And I think it's partly because he was a journalist, so he could just get out there, and he knew the people and he knew how to do it. But he was amazing at it. And now he lives in Canada, and he's really successful over there. He's had a TV series in Canada, and he's having this film made about his life when he was starting off as a comedian. And he would spend his days like interviewing Jerry Seinfeld, and then he'd go off and play sort of a tiny venue in Slough that had 3 people in the audience, and how there's this huge contrast in his life. And it stars James Buckley from The Inbetweeners as him, playing him. But he was a huge supporter of the Camden Fringe, but he was just so good at self-promotion.
Yeah. And he
always had brilliant photos taken, and he loved having his picture taken.
Really good photos, and he always was incredibly charming whenever he turned up. And the day after he'd performed, he would always send a thank you email as well. Yeah,
and he was hugely positive and hugely polite, and I think
he did that everywhere he went as well.
Everywhere he went, he said that was my favourite venue, that's my favourite gig I've ever done. And it's, it just shows that being charming and polite does get you quite a long way. But and he never ever ever has been to Edinburgh and performed, and he's done really well, although albeit in Canada. I don't know what the comedy scene in Canada is really like, but
I mean, he did a DVD, didn't he, after he'd done some like 2 or 3 Camden Fringe shows, and then booked a tour off the back of it and a DVD. He was amazing.
I think he had a incredible work ethic, and was determined, and no self-doubt, and just went on and did it. And goes to show you can get somewhere just through bravado and a bit of talent.
Yes, he was quite funny.
When it comes to when you apply for the Camden Fringe, like obviously, so I've read your 7-point thing, and as I understand it, you apply for the venue, you get confirmed with the venue, and then a few months later they register with you. Do you get involved when the venues are getting applications to like vet who's coming through, and like do you help them out to kind of schedule things to make sure they work, or?
We don't help them with schedule. We might make suggestions to them, and if all the applications, we see them all coming through. So if we notice anything that we think, yes, that's amazing, or oh my God, that person is back and really shouldn't be, they're a nightmare, we will flag things up with venues and make suggestions, but it is up to venues to programme themselves.
Because we're a mixture of comedy and theatre, we do get some comics who will apply to lots of theatre that's and then miss out the fact that they should be going to the Camden Comedy Club, which is the sort of best, I think, for stand-up. It's the best venue we've got because that's what it's designed for. It used to be, but it was Liberties when we first started. It was actually the second venue that we ever took on as the Camden Fringe, and we built the stage in that. And it was called Liberties then, and then it changed its name to the Camden Head. And then I think a year ago, possibly to this week, it became the Camden Comedy Club. And that one is properly set up for doing stand-up, and occasionally a performer will apply and forget to do that one, or forget to apply to Aces and Eights, which was a new one to us last year. And actually those are the two that are great for stand-up. So you will occasionally say, I see you've applied to the Cockpit for your one-man comedy show that's just you and a mic. Perhaps you would like to think about these ones. So we do, we kind of, where it's necessary, we'll chip in. But on the whole, we leave the venues and the acts to talk to each other and collaborate on that.
And what would you say is like one of like the most common mistake? Would you say it's picking the wrong venue, or would you say
possibly picking the wrong venue, not knowing what you're doing, and doing something awful? Just having an idea for a show and it just being a terrible, awful idea, not putting it together well, having no idea what you're doing. And doing that's the worst mistake.
I think it's laziness, and I think that's related to having a terrible idea. So people kind of have a very vague shadow of an idea and think, I'll do that, that'll be easy, and then they don't actually do any work on it until quite last minute, and then they realise it's a bit too late, really. So I think
so that's the point when you sometimes, like a week before they're due to perform, we might have noticed that their ticket sales are looking rather low, and then you'll get an email from one of them saying that somebody's died and that they're going to have to cancel, and you just think, as awful as it sounds, we just go, yeah, of course one of you's died. just say you've not written it, or you've not got your shit together, or you've all fallen out. That happens.
Oh, on stage sometimes. That happened last year, didn't it? We had two people performing a show together who will remain nameless, but they were two separate character performers, I think we will call them, and they seemed to fall out midway through the show. They were doing I think 2 or 3 performances. Midway through the first show, they basically fell out with each other somehow, and then one of them was ill the next day and couldn't do the performance, and so someone else came and stood in and did half the character show. It was yes. Without saying more, I think it would reveal who they were, but it was a bit embarrassing for everybody, really. So just try and do a show with people you get on with.
It's like minimum requirement, I think. In Edinburgh, I was talking to Daryl Martin, who runs Just a Tonic, and he was like, yeah, just like his policy for employing people is just don't be a dickhead, because I've got to deal with you for a month. So I think same with any show, like just don't pick someone who you think is going to be a prick, really.
Yeah, it's a sound policy. Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes, you get stealth dickheads and you don't realise until it's too late. But most people are nice, so that's good. Yeah.
End it on a positive comment, of course. Okay. Sorry, I've just realised I haven't crossed that question off. So tell me about Chechnya.
Isn't it awful about Chechnya?
Chechnya. Sorry, we're repeating Bridget Jones to each other now.
It's okay. It's okay. You do that while I cross off questions.
Okay. Yeah,
and then I won't even edit that out. I'll just leave it in, and people can think that you guys are just entertaining yourselves.
From a show a film that came out, we worked out 13 years ago. No, more than that.
About
14 years ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, the next question was going to be, but the thing is, now you've said Chechnya a lot. I sort of feel like I feel a little bit like I should talk about that. But I was going to say why Camden, but I assume it was because you ran the Etc. Theatre, so you were in that area because you guys live in Manchester. You both live in Manchester, right?
We live in Manchester now, but we were running the Etc. Theatre on Camden High Street, and we'd been running that. I think was it 2002? The end of 2002, we took it over.
Probably.
Yeah. So we were there. So we were in Camden. So we had a venue in Camden, hence Camden Fringe.
But Camden is, I think, a great place to do a fringe in that it has the high street, which is quite buzzy, quite exciting. It feels a little bit like you're on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, except less grand, more kind of less castles, more giant Dr. Martens hanging off of the front of buildings. But there is that kind of buzzy centre to it. And Camden is a great creative place. So if you're really nerdy and you want to look back at the history of fringe theatre, then Camden is quite linked with the history of fringe theatre. And Joan Plowright, is that her name? No, it's the other Joan.
Joan Sims?
Yes, Joan Sims, and Oh What a Lovely War and all that stuff. But yeah, so Camden has quite a history of just being a creative place. It's got the market there before it was all gentrified. It was a place where fashion designers started off. So many bands have started off in Camden, and we're around the corner from MTV, and there's just
it's one bit of London that hasn't yet been completely fucked.
I think it's getting there.
It will get there. But it's still cool and fun.
I don't know that it is cool. I think it's only cool if you're a French teenager and you want some socks that have got.
No, I think there's still bits that are cool, but not the bits that you see on the street. Right. The stripy socks. I think there's cool things, but behind closed doors.
Exciting.
Did you know Karl Marx used to have his meetings in this very room?
But we're in the Etc. Theatre, by the way, for anyone listening.
We're in
the Head and Chickens. Sorry, Head and Chickens Theatre. So you kept talking about the Etc. So it's, my head's in that right now. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Marx and Engels had their meetings in here.
Cool.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It's I feel like we're topping that. I feel like we're definitely.
I think as meetings of minds go, this is pretty up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we are technically not in Camden now. Of course, we're on Highbury Corner, which is in Islington, but the Camden Fringe has slightly shifted its boundaries, or we've moved the boundaries of Camden just for our own ends.
We like to push boundaries because we're so innovative.
Yes, that's right.
Not because we couldn't find more venues in Camden.
I was going to say it felt a very PR answer that you'd come up with.
Yeah, but we've kind of tried to keep it, because I think that there have been attempts to do London comedy festivals and London fringes, and at which Zena snorts derisively. That haven't really worked, because you need to have some sort of geographic cohesion to where you're putting on your performances. I never thought I'd use the phrase geographic cohesion.
You used it beautifully.
That was good.
Thank you. That's why I said it twice, because I was really impressed with myself.
You crushed that. That was nice.
Joan Littlewood.
That's the one. Joan Littlewood, not Joan Sims or Joan Bakewell. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh, Pope Joan.
Joan of Arc.
Do you know the story of Pope Joan?
No, tell me.
Go on.
There was a pope called Joan.
I can't believe I couldn't work that out.
No, there was a pope, and it turned out was a woman called Joan. That's as much as I remember. But I remember there's like Joan Sims, Pope Joan, and Joan Littlewood, 3 Joneses.
Joan is a good name, actually. Now we're thinking about it, I'm gonna call a cat Joan very soon. So I can't remember what I was talking about then. I remember saying geographic cohesion.
You were at that point.
I was trying to ask, like, why Camden, and I was just trying to find out whether. Well, I was going to go into, but you sort of started that without me. Whether the changes in Camden and the fact that, like, so for example, the market's being bought up and changed into flats and stuff is going to make a difference to the Fringe, or whether you. I mean, I assume you won't want to move it or anything, but I just wondered how much of an impact that's going to have on you guys.
I don't think it'll have much of an impact, really. I think the venues are all going to stay where they are. Camden is always changing. We were there during many of the great fires of Camden. I remember Miles Jupp was doing a show at the Etc. one night, and I had to ring him up and go, "Don't come here, Camden is on fire." We have had to evacuate the building. That was the big fire where they suddenly.
Do you remember the first fire?
Yes, I do. That was not good.
No, it wasn't. The first fire, was it about 2 weeks after we'd taken over the Etc.?
Yeah.
Just finished painting. We just finished painting. Fire.
Chip pan fire in the pub downstairs. Our first show cancelled.
all our paintwork ruined.
Yeah, so we've not been lucky with fire.
No, we've not.
No. We
had a fire in Edinburgh. Do you want to know about that?
Go for it.
In Edinburgh, when we were... we'd taken lots of shows up there one year.
It was, I think, technically our best year at Edinburgh.
We had, we had 2 Perrier nominated shows.
We had Tilson and Harvey were nominated for Best Newcomer, and Jeremy Lyon. I can't remember which Jeremy Lyon show it was now, but Jeremy Lyon was nominated for the main award. So it was kind of,
Yeah, and we had Milton Jones and Robin Ince and the Consultants and the Trap and Bad Play.
Yeah, we had a really good lineup of shows, halfway through our flats and all our flyers were set on fire.
And luckily we were in the chip shop round the corner, not realising that our flat was just across from the Pleasance Dome, and people had been hammering on the door thinking that we might possibly be in there, but luckily we weren't.
Yeah. And actually, luckily, the fire was in a tiled bathroom, so it didn't actually ruin our flyers. But we had to we moved them.
They stunk.
We moved them to the Underbelly, who very kindly said that we could store our flyers there for the duration, since we had no flat anymore. But people kept running into them, going, "There's a fire! There's a fire in the flyer store!" But it was just our old smoke-smelling flyers that had been in there. It's not a very interesting story, but there we go.
No, probably not.
No.
It was interesting to us at the time.
Yeah. And I still have the same suitcase, which still is sooty.
I still got stuff covered in soot from that.
And that was
10 years ago, yeah. Just a few toiletries.
We're just a bit grubby.
I'm not sure if I'm going to edit that out or I'm going to keep that, because you at the end of it said it's boring. And if it bored you, I don't know.
Well, I've heard the story before.
I
was there.
I suppose at the time it was a lot more dramatic, because you guys didn't sell the fire very heavily there.
No, we don't really know what happened. We just got back there and we realised I had to actually...
The bathroom was on the pavement and there was loads of...
999 and go, I know this isn't the right number to call, but there has been a fire at our flat. And there's no one here, but we know the fire brigade have been, so I'm not sure what to do. We're allowed in.
Yeah, the flat was, it was black, completely black, wasn't it?
We just turned up at
we went into Brooks Club covered in soot. So will somebody take us in?
Yes, and Isabel and Tom took us in, didn't they?
Yes,
very kindly.
And gave us some knickers.
Yeah, they were Isabel's knickers, not Tom's.
Yeah.
They now do, what do they do? Clever Pie Productions is what their thing is. They're still around doing stuff.
Everyone stays around. I tell you, persistency.
Yeah, persistence.
Everyone stays and just carries on, regardless of how good or bad they are, because no one tells you, and then you don't believe them when they do.
I heard about somebody, I won't say who is still doing stuff, who I saw, there's maybe 8 years ago, and at the time was so livid that he'd had the audacity to get on stage and be quite that rubbish, and then I found out he's still doing it. Can you guess?
No, I can't guess.
I bet when we're on the train back, you'll guess.
Okay. But then we've not got a great record for talent spotting, really, have we? Because I remember we went to see Lee Francis when we were both working at the Pleasance, and we got sent out to go and scout this bloke and see what's he like. And he's going, he's just put on a weird Michael Jackson mask. Yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, it was called. I still got the flyer for that now. It was called Heavy Pencil,
which is actually quite a good name for a night.
We walked out.
Did we?
I certainly walked out about halfway through because I couldn't sit through any more of it. Went back and said to Piers, God, no, it's awful.
Piers was programming the Pleasance at the time.
Yeah, and that's...
and now
he's rather...
Keith Lemon, that's
the
man
he's
he is now.
Doing quite well.
Yeah.
So we failed on that one.
But because you guys are producers, like, by day, is that right? You produce shows, or
No, we used to do that, but we don't anymore.
Yeah, no.
So you only work on the Camden Fringe, or what's your?
Yeah, I run the Manchester Fringe as well.
Okay.
And a pub in Salford.
Cool. Which
is a pub theatre. So, you know, the same sort of thing, but up north with people with less money.
I have a day job unrelated to performance in any way, but I will get to name a cat Joan soon.
Do you work in a pet sanctuary?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah, nice. That's really cool. I feel like I should have prepared some questions for the Manchester Fringe now, because although you do have on your website something about, because I saw there's I can't remember what the name of the pub was, but it was on the sidebar and it said, do you want to do your gig in Manchester or your show in Manchester, click through. So I mean, is there much of a connection between the two? Like, if you wanted to try and book both, you can do.
There's no connection other than that I work for both of them, but if you wanted to book both, you'd have to apply to both and try and do both. But they're sort of unrelated other than me. So
there's no, like, discount or, like, deal that you could do for both?
Absolutely not. No way.
Well, that's disappointed a lot of comedians. One sec, because there's the when I talked to the guy from the Brighton Fringe, he told me about the World Fringe Alliance, I think it's called, which, like, has, like, a network where you can kind of apply for, like, a few different fringes and try and collate them between them. You're not associated?
Yeah, that's it's run by a lady called Holly, and they're meeting in London on Saturday actually. Yeah. And she basically has really sort of pulled lots of fringe managers together and trying to sort of keep lines of communication open about all sorts of things that affect all of us. But in terms of actual, we'll do retweets for each other, or for example, Prague Fringe emailed me the other week saying, can you send this tweet out because our applications are closing in a week? So I said yes. And can you do one for us in a couple of months? Yes, brilliant. I don't think it goes much further than that. But
we miss out on that because the World Fringe, what's it called? The Fringe Alliance.
World Fringe Alliance, I think.
Yeah, they tend to do all their stuff during August at Edinburgh, and we are often unavailable because of Camden. So
I think they all get pissed together.
I think that's what happens, which we actually probably could manage to do if we took our laptops with us.
Do you need a laptop to drink, obviously?
We need a laptop to monitor our ticket sales and things like that and deal with emails.
Oh, yeah.
Remotely, working while drinking. Yeah,
drinking it enhances work often. As long as you don't spill it on your laptop, and then it would be bad. I
thought you were going to say something else then. Sorry.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, it's fine. What would you say is one of your most underused features or facilities that you offer for the Camden Fringe for performers, either for comedians or theatre people?
I think people don't read all the information we give them, and
I guarantee they don't.
No, we know they don't, because you get the questions that say, "What? When does this happen? When does that happen?" It's all there. Everything is there written down for you. So if you actually go through and read all the resources that are provided for you, it answers so many questions and will provide you with a lot of guidance. And a lot of people don't fill in. We have, to make it so easy to fill in a press release, we just have a bit where you have to just fill in blurb about your show. You don't have to write in where the show's on. You don't have to write the dates it's on, because we generate all of that automatically from your show listing. So you literally just have to say, this is why my show is on, this is why it is good. These are some quotes about things I've done before. It's if you took 2 hours over it would be excellent to write. You could write something really good, but you could do something that was passable in half an hour. It doesn't take you time, but the amount of people who just don't even go there and don't even look at it. So there is no press release for their show. I think that's, I think it's the resources about marketing that are underused by performers.
You can lead out water to a horse, but you can't water the horse to drink.
You can't drown the horse in the water.
Yeah, you could try, but you can't make it.
Got really sinister, that. You guys looked at each other really intensely with that.
We have a secret about a horse.
Okay.
We buried one.
That didn't pick up. I'm sorry. That's okay.
Can't believe we went to the vegan shop this morning.
Oh, is that the one round the
You want it at King's Cross?
Yeah. I like that one. It's quite cool.
Are you vegan?
No, but I sometimes eat vegan because I need to eat more protein and less meat. Long story.
Oh, go on. What about eggs?
I eat a lot of eggs. This is gone.
Christina's recently got chickens.
Oh, you got chickens?
Mhm.
Okay. That's quite cool. Any specific reason, or just you felt like getting chickens?
Felt like getting
They're
chickens.
rescue chickens from
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. Okay.
They're all baldy and sad. And I had to wash their waddles underneath I had to wash their waddles.
Wattle.
I had to run their waddles under a tap.
Right.
Because they've been pecking each other's waddles. Get the blood off and then smother them in Sudocrem.
I'm going to leave this bit in. So, do you want to explain what a waddle is?
A waddle is it's the flappy bit on
It's called a wattle.
It's the bit that
Right.
on top of the head,
Okay.
like a rubber glove.
Okay, fine. I should have let people Google that. That would have been way more
Well,
fun.
they wouldn't have got very far because it's not called a waddle.
I think it's called a waddle.
It's called a wattle. But we should also say that if you do have a poorly chicken, seek veterinary advice and do not cover it in pseudocreme, because I don't think that's the right thing.
Well, it's antiseptic.
But don't.
I cleaned it and put antiseptic on it. What more can you do? It's basically like the same skin as a testicle.
Sure.
And actually, when Paul did his cycling tour,
No, I don't want to know this.
A few thousand comedians are going to listen to this, and now they're going to be like, right, what comedian was the one that got an argument? What happened to that guy's testicles? And why can't I get a discount on those shows? They're going to get... Right, I try and...
It's like a cliffhanger, isn't it? You know.
yeah.
I try and do an interactive bit in every episode just for fun and see if they can tweet you. So maybe if we get someone to tweet and say if they think you should have put the antiseptic on the chicken, or we can get them to guess which comedian had an argument, whichever way you want to do it. I don't... Which what?
Either or.
Either or.
Which comedian had an argument?
The
The
ones
ones
that
the two
had
that
the
fell out
falling out.
during the show.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay. What's your Twitter handle? At Camden Fringe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you want to take a guess at which comedians had a fight, or you are the comedians that had a fight, feel free to tweet in, and you win nothing, but it would just be amusing. You might get a retweet.
Yeah. Unless you're being rude about us. Is that fair?
Yeah, then you get blocked.
Yeah.
I will be watching the app mentions for the next week and see if anyone actually tweets in. I definitely will be taking some guesses. So one of the questions I find really interesting is because you guys are essentially behind the scenes quite a lot, most of the stuff you do, no one really gets to see or appreciate. What do you think is the thing that most people don't appreciate most about what you guys do towards the Camden Fringe? That just no one really gets to see.
We do a lot of the admin naked because we feel like it sort of enhances the admin aspect of things, and I don't think people really get to see that or understand it.
You could live tweet that. You could.
And I think that's a shame. It's a real shame. You like to do it in special yoga poses as well, because we're very spiritual.
Yeah, you've got to let your chakras flow, haven't you?
Yeah, we love Shakira.
Have you got the app Periscope?
No,
and we're not live periscoping our naked admin.
Fair enough.
No, that's not going to happen.
I don't think it was happening anyway. No.
we did. We went naked in a show once, didn't we?
No, I don't think we did. I think we had underwear on.
Oh yeah, we did.
Okay. I was going to actually ask.
This is like, I feel a bit like we're doing really hoary old showbiz anecdotes here. Like, do you remember that time?
Oh, do you remember when we took Bernie Clifton and the Crankies to Edinburgh in 2006? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
We did.
We did, and we had an excellent afternoon sat in the Pleasance Courtyard with Bernie Clifton and Barry Cryer, just listening to them talking to each other, and it was probably one of the best afternoons of my life. It was great, but that's a proper hold.
I don't think I've ever laughed so much as the time we spent with Bernie Clifton.
Yeah, Bernie Clifton is God. He's amazing. And we wrapped people in tape. We met Christine Hamilton in her bra. Everything happened when Bernie Clifton was there. Yeah. It was great.
And then we took, we produced the Crankies with support from Stu Francis. Not Stu Francis, who people know about nowadays. Not Stuart Francis, but Stu Francis. Do you know who we mean?
He's from Crackers.
No.
You're young, aren't you?
Maybe. I'm 28. Is that young?
Yeah, young.
Okay.
Stu Francis, I could crush a grape.
He was on Crackerjack when in the 80s.
I like this. I feel young. I don't normally feel very young.
Oh, no. Yeah. Stu Francis was famous in the 1980s for saying things like, ooh, I could crush a grape, I could rip a tissue, I could wrestle a Barbie. Wrestle an action man. I don't think he wrestled a Barbie. That would be abusive.
So we were very excited because, one, I fancied him when I was about 6. And two, it's Stu Francis from the telly from when we were about 6, and he was the support. And but then he came on. It was George Square Theatre, and we were very excited. And he came on. One night only. And his first joke, I can't actually repeat it because it's really racist. But we were sat at the back, and he said it, and we just died 1,000 deaths when we realised we made this happen. It's the last day of Edinburgh, and he's just come on and said a really racist joke, and a load of people got up and walked out, and that was.
But Bernie Clifton was a delight.
Yes.
So that's the thing that you guys do that no one gets
the
to
Crankies
see.
were really what's the word? Professional. No, professional and brilliant. But Jeanette Cranky was so small, I wanted to when I met her, I wanted to pick her up. Which is a good job I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think people who are of a certain height like just being picked up. No.
Yeah, and she was not dressed as a schoolboy because she was in her normal attire, but she was.
Simon doesn't know who the Crankies are either. He doesn't know
I've heard of them, no, sorry.
Yeah, oh my
he
God.
Probably only knows the rude stories about the Crankies.
The thing, the demographic for this podcast is quite diverse age-wise, so there's probably going to be comedians who are
as long as
slightly
you're over
older.
35, you'll probably understand.
Or if you're about 40, you'll know.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was dressed as a cowgirl.
Right.
It's basically a small Scottish woman dressed as a cowgirl who, for a living, pretends that her husband is her brother and she is a small schoolboy. That's the essence of the Crankies.
Okay.
And this is what passed for entertainments in the 1980s, really. It was light entertainment. The Crankies, Keith Harrison Orville.
He wants us to go home now.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I was going to say, when I was at school, we used to have Pokemon cards, and that passed for entertainment. So, if that helps you...
What's a Pokemon?
You know what a Pokemon is.
It was just a card with a little animal on it it was like Top Trumps, but like...
Pikachu. That's the one I can name.
That was the one they flagshipped, the main one. And I never understood why, because there were better ones, but he was probably the cutest.
But they all say their names, don't they?
Yeah, that's all they do.
Their language is their names.
Yeah, they say their name as if it's a communicative way of doing it. But if anything, I think that's just them being narcissistic.
Although, the clangers, I've been trying to teach my daughter to speak in clangers, which is, they just go, but when they people doing the whistling, they're actually reading words from a script, but then they just go. I know it's not the same as just saying your name over and again.
No, it's entirely different. It's just whistling words.
It's the reverse, isn't it? It's not even
it has
audible.
got meaning, is what we're saying about the clangers.
So see, do you understand what I'm saying now?
I'll tell you what.
Do you need the toilet?
I'll tell you what, if you have any suggestions on what that might mean, you can tweet that in as well.
Yeah, tweet that
Why
in.
not? That's just...
At Camden Fringe.
You're going to get the most ridiculous replies from this. I like how we're all trying to keep stony-faced, as if, anyone's going to be able to see how we're reacting to all this. Okay, well, I'll end on a few quick questions, if that's okay.
She's a 36 AA. I know that for a fact.
Is that from all the nude admin? Is that right?
It's from the nude admin.
For the benefit of the listener at home, she's nodding no.
I'm not.
You stop mouthing that you have to say the words. It's audio. We agreed I wouldn't.
No, but I kind of like the idea of it, so, I'm going to let that one slide.
That's been nice.
36, though. That's quite,
I'm a 36. What's wrong with 36?
That's quite fat, isn't it?
You fucking bitch.
By the way,
we've
two
now
people
fallen out
during a podcast.
the two people who had an argument weren't them. Don't worry, it's you can't guess them. But okay, I sort of don't know if I want to ask any more questions.
No, ask some quick questions and we'll answer them properly.
Okay. Best show you've ever seen at the Camden Fringe?
Why? So I've got 2, I think, for this answer. Oh, I've got 3. Can I do 3? My top 3?
Yeah, go on then.
Okay, one's a theatre show called Concrete Boots, which made me cry and was excellent, by Stop Clock Theatre Productions from about 5 years ago. One was a bad musical by The Trap, which is amazing, and I still sing the songs in my head to it. I think I did go to Edinburgh the year after. It was excellent. And then the other one was
Impro Twats.
Yes, love Impro Twat, which was Marek Larwood, Dustin Demery Burns, Jared Christmas, and Sophie Black. And they did. They were like a fake improv troupe, but they were in it. They were improvising it, but they had all these tensions going on in their improv troupe, and it was brilliant. It was, and they only ever did it at the Camden Fringe, like 2-3 times. Yeah. I think they did it all in one night.
Did they?
I think so. I think I saw it at least twice, or maybe I didn't. I don't know.
It was brilliant,
but it was excellent. Are they your answers as well? Have you got any others to add?
There was one, I can't remember the name of the show. You might. It was a boy. And he was mostly naked, chained himself up, smeared himself in jam, was sort of singing, and it was
called
Attempt.
Yeah.
It was...
That was very much performance art.
Yeah, and part of me was thinking this is nuts, but also I loved it. And his mum was sat on the front row for every single performance.
That's sweet.
It was very sweet.
It's very sweet watching your naked son covered in jam.
That's
every night.
A dedicated mum.
Yes. She was very proud.
Oh, and do you remember when we had Nellie Boswell?
Yeah.
You don't know who Nellie Boswell is, being not from our era.
Also, she's fictional.
She's a fictional character, but the woman who did play her, Jean Boat, did a show which we were very excited about because we used to love Bread, which was very famous in the 80s. But then she was awful, wasn't she? Am I allowed to say that? She was rude.
She was quite grumpy, yeah. But she was in a weird Fringe show, which I think was slightly beneath her, probably. She's an elderly woman, but pretending to be a rapping OAP.
We're still excited, even though she's rude to us, because it was Nellie Boswell.
Fair enough. You can say the worst shows you've seen if you want as well. I mean,
there's so many.
That's not like you don't want to. No, you want to say there were no bad shows at the Camden Fringe.
No, but there are bad shows, and that's. I would rather see a really bad show than a very average show. I'd rather see something that was awful and then I could tell my friends about for years afterwards than something that was just kind of boring and about 2 people on a train. So, there was a show, I think in the first or second year, called Blow 'Em Away, which I think is the only show one of my friends from real life has come to see, and she still talks about it now, even though it's 8 years on. And it was a musical about the Pied Piper, and it was very passionately staged, but dreadful. But I loved it because it was awful, but it was so much fun to watch because it was awful. That's awful. I don't think they'll be listening to this. So I think that's fine. We can say Blow 'Em Away wasn't very good.
Do you go and see most of the shows then at the Camden Fringe? Or?
No, we don't have time. And because most shows are only on for a couple of days, the sort of window of opportunity is very small. I always want to go and see more shows than we do, but we find that we're kind of bogged down in admin quite a lot, dealing with tweets and emails and...
So much naked admin, and then you find out you've got 10 minutes to see a show. By the time you've got dressed, the doors are closed and you can't get in. So then we just have to strip again.
There may be a flaw in our naked admin plan there.
Just a constant, I've got a tweet, quick, take the top off. It's Right. And I was going to say, do you have any, because I normally ask this anyway, but do you have any book recommendations that you would have for any performers taking part? Because there are a lot of ones for Edinburgh survival guides and random other performance and marketing stuff, and I just wondered if there's anything that you would recommend reading material wise.
I've not read a book about comedy for years. I don't think. Is that I must have done.
Just just read a nice book, like a nice Thomas Hardy or Jane Austen, or
a classic.
Read a classic. You'll always get more from that than, reading the bottom of your shoe.
There's a book by Ted Heller that was about comedians that I really liked, and I can't remember what it's called now. But if you look up Ted Heller, you'll find it. Yeah, Ted Heller did a really good book about comedians, but it wasn't really relevant to. It was all American, so it was not really relevant to performing over here. And I have a book called Ha Bloody Ha, Comedians Talking, which is from the early 90s, which was by William Cook, which I really liked because there was an argument talked about in it that I started when I was 16. So I was really proud of that. When I found it in a bookshop when I was about 18, I was like, yes, I started that argument. It's in there. So
what argument?
I don't want to talk about that now, but it wasn't a big one.
If you think you know what that argument was, tweet in. A lot
of arguments to be tweeting about.
And James Seabright wrote a book, didn't he, about producing shows in Edinburgh and taking a show to Edinburgh. One of those... So one of those... The stupid... No, I don't think it was a stupid guide to doing something.
Guide.
I think it was... No, I think it was just a normal book on...
I think it was just for idiots.
So yeah, James Seabright wrote a book about it, which I haven't read, but I imagine it's full of useful information. Yeah. But the Fringe office give you a lot of good information, but again, it's just read stuff rather than not reading stuff and guessing.
Yeah, read the information provided to you rather than books. Read some information about performing at the particular festival you might be performing at. Read your contracts, very important. Mm-hmm. And don't worry so much about books.
Fair enough.
What are you reading for?
Oh, who said that?
Bill Hicks.
Yeah, Bill Hicks, that's it, yeah. And it's like, I mainly read to not be a
waffle waitress.
Yeah, I can love him. Well, I was going to say, do you have one bit of advice for a couple of thousand comedians that might be listening to this who want to take part? But I feel like read the emails and look at your website you want to add one more thing?
Have something to say. Have some actual material. So many people, honestly, it makes me livid. Yeah. So many people have got nothing to say, no material. They just get up and... Where you from? What do you do? Which is fine for a bit of a warm up, but actually, there comes a point when you think, no, right, you have to stop taking the piss out of your audience now and actually say something. And it doesn't have to be a message or change the world, but it has to be funny at least. It has to have more jokes than EastEnders.
Don't do a show about being a comedian because people who aren't comedians don't care about being a comedian, and it's amazing how many people go, here's a show about my life as a comedian. You think that no. People want something they can relate to, or and I don't think you have to do a themed show or anything like that, but have some funny things to say.
Write some jokes. Write some bloody jokes.
We'll end there then.
Good luck, everyone.
We love you.
That was Zena and Michelle. I really enjoyed chatting with them. They're so warm and lovely, and they're so chatty amongst themselves, but they never sort of leave you out. And it was really nice to have a chat with them and learn more about what they've been doing and why they've been doing it. Also, I'd like to thank them for not only taking part, but also for helping sort out a room for us to do that in. They pulled the strings and got us a connection with the venue that we were doing it in, which was the Hen and Chickens, and we were able to do a nice recording in the actual theatre space that afternoon. So that's really helpful. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you would like to support the show, you can do so by going to the website and clicking the PayPal button in the top hand corner of the screen, and you can send me whatever you think this is worth. If you've listened to 5 episodes of this and you think they're each worth £2, send me a tenner. If not, send me £1 per episode, whatever you think it's worth. I don't really mind. If you'd like to make your life a lot easier and you do want to give a regular donation, I've set up a Patreon page, which is at Patreon, that's patreon.com/Ask the Industry Podcast. You can find a link to that on the website as well. All that'll do is you can set how much you would like to donate per episode of the podcast, and at the end of every month it will charge you for that. the lowest amount you can donate is $1. So if you have 80p per episode of this show that you would like to donate, that would really help out, because it gives me a budget and it helps me sort of move forward and feel a little bit less like I'm just ploughing money into a project that's not got any financial backing or advertisers or anything like that. So any help you can give, we're sort of eking towards our next target. If just 48 of you could donate $1 each episode, we'd hit our next target, so that would be amazing. So yeah, please do give that some thought and consider it. I only do 3 episodes a month, so it's only going to cost you about £2.80 to keep this show going. Please also share it. I think it'd be really good for anyone who wants to take part in the Camden Fringe, or who is just interested in just comedy in London, really, generally. It's a very interesting discussion about how the capital is changing, and so hopefully you'll get something out of it from that perspective. If you go to the show notes at my website, which is simoncaine.co.uk, you can find links to the other podcasts that we talked about in there, including the one from The Londonist, from Time Out, and a couple of others. I can't remember which ones off the top of my head now. But yeah, they're all there, and all downloadable for free. So thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for sharing. Thank you very much for subscribing. And thank you very much for donating. Bye.